to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
me, Rob. And we're bringing you a nice hump day show.
Hump Day! Whatever happened to that
Day!
commercial? They stopped playing that. It was a Geico one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Geico.
Because the
Freaking genius.
camera got
I'm
annoyed.
telling you. It was like a 10-year stretch where every single freaking commercial they had was just gold. Gold.
Yeah.
I mean, the hell, they made a freaking TV show out of their commercials. Granted, it was a shitty TV show from what I hear. I never watched that episode, but the cavemen literally got their own. Yeah, they got their own TV show. Insanity. Absolute insanity.
Based off of car insurance company.
Yeah, exactly. Insane, you know? Wow, look at this. Jay says, looks like you both put on some pounds since that intro. Wow. That's just mean. That's just, I have feelings, Jay. I'll have you know. Actually, in the last month, no lie, I've lost 12 pounds.
I haven't looked at the scale.
All from switching jobs and losing the stress of the job that I had at that point. So I'll take it. Lost most of it in the first week. It's crazy. All right. So we got a little bit of news here to go over with you guys here. I'll be honest with you guys. This is probably not going to be one of our longer episodes. But we have a little bit of draft news to go over with you guys. We had a big name point blank request to trade today. And we got to, of course, have a discussion if it doesn't make sense for the Giants to go ahead and trade for this player. So let's go right. Oh, no, hold on. Before we do that, Chase, like, you guys look skinny. Not saying you're big now. You said looked skinny, which means we're not skinny now, Jay.
Past tense of skinny.
Yeah, past tense of skinny. Was skinny, no longer is skinny. Wow. Wow. I would go back at you, but I don't know if, what that cartoon image is supposed to be actually of you or not. Let's go into the news here. So first off, we got to talk about the news of the Titans. So the Titans had obviously been in the news the last couple of days here. So there's been all kinds of rumors about, will a team trade up with the Titans to take over that first overall pick? Let's be honest, this is not the year of coveting the first overall pick. It's not that year. But there's still teams need a quarterback. There's still teams that might be eyeing a pass rusher like Abdul Carter or looking at the potential two-way talent in Travis Hunter. And there's still teams that might want to move up there. So there was a user on X, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it nowadays.
It's going to give it to you. That
basically would say, I don't believe this at all. Like, all this trade rumors and blah, blah, blah. And like basically calling it all BS. Well, ESPN Titans reporter Teron Davenport went on to X and replied to him, which is kind of weird because the guy really had I think 80 people actually view his tweet until then. But he said, the trade talk is real. There's a chance it could happen. If they stay, it's Ward, undoubtedly. I got to look at that from a couple angles. First off, the trade talk is really hearing that. That should be a big thing there because I've been questioning it myself because sometimes you just go through the motions. You're trying to see what the options are. And I think that happens, basically every single year. To be honest,
you have to. You'd be, yes, you want the first overall pick because you want your soft pick, but it's also covenant. Like, you want to make sure that if you're not confident in what guy you want, or you may not want the best guy coming out, quote unquote, because you might want someone you think you get at number 5.
Or it just could be that somebody throws some ridiculous offer that gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. That kind of situation does happen. Where somebody covets somebody so much that they're like, the classic example I'm going to use, and this does not happen very often. I want to say the year was 1998, if I remember correctly. And the Saints wanted to move up to get Ricky Williams and literally traded up their entire draft class, like every single pick in that draft, to move up to get Ricky Williams. I'm not saying that's a normal scenario, but you get crazy, weird offers if somebody just falls in love with the player.
Yeah.
And especially if it's a quarterback. I mean, crazy things do happen, you know? We talked about that in the last episode. There's all kinds of rumors. Some saying just a couple of thirds to move up for the Giants. Others are saying the second this year, a first next year, and a third next year, which is just insane to me. But, you know, they're all coming from a space of history and what people are talking about as far as the rumors of the value of it there. But if somebody, let's say, for example, the Titans loved Cam Ward, okay? Like we love Cam Ward. We think Cam Ward could be the guy. But then all of a sudden says, I don't just love Cam Ward. I want to marry that right now, put a ring on it. Let's go ahead and I'll give you 3 first-round picks. They might not love Cam Ward that much.
Yeah. Cam might be like a nice, like, oh, that's cool. But, you know, first round pick next year, or second round pick this year also sounds pretty cool because
you just never know what level of love there is. Okay, is it a one-night stand love or is it forever love? There is different versions of it. Yeah. So you know you got to find out that part of it. Now, from the Giants' perspective, here's what I look at. Again, if it's 2/3, I've said it on the show last time, and I'll say it again. If it's 2/3 and that's all it takes, done. If you're that confident in a quarterback, go for it. But hypothetically, the Titans, let's say they say, you know what, we just want to trade this pick. They have Will Levis, guys. Will Levis. If the Titans don't want to trade, don't want to take Cam Ward, and they want to trade this pick, that should tell you a lot of what they think of Cam Ward, too. When Will Levis is your quarterback, and you have the number 1 overall pick, and there's only 1 or 2 solid quarterbacks in this draft, depending on who you listen to, and you don't want him?
They might like man on their coffee.
That's like passing a guy in the Sahara Desert who offers you a bottle of water. Yeah. What's wrong with this water? What is in this water?
Did he pee in it?
I'm just saying, like, these are the things you have to think about. You have to think about that. Because one of the biggest things in GMs is they don't want to look stupid. Let's be honest. They don't want to look stupid and make that big move that somebody goes, oh my God, they set the franchise back for years by doing this one move. Because that happens all the time. Let's be honest. 9 times out of 10, those are hyperboles because there's usually multiple things to set a franchise back. But they don't want to be that. And teams are going to be hesitant to trade up, I think, because of that. Because they're going to go, oh, same thing I'm saying. Like, I'm not, listen, like, we may be smart, but we're not the only ones who can think, wait a minute, why does nobody else want this guy?
100%. Well, because you're also talking about cost and value. Like,
yeah.
This is the draft class where your first half of the first round, maybe third of the first round, you're not going to get that much value. You're going to get a lot of value around your second round picks.
And we said it before, Cam Ward in a normal year would be probably like a mid-first round pick. So you're going to draft this guy, not third, but trade up to go first overall, plus give up a bunch of picks.
Yeah.
That goes beyond a reach now. That goes into, like, you're not just reaching, you're go gadget arms with that thing.
Go gadget arms. Ugh.
So like I said, it's going to be interesting to see because I still don't know if I buy it. And I know that, you know, again, Davenport works for ESPN, covers the Titans exclusively. So I have no doubt that he has sources and hears things that not everyone does that, you know, is following the situation. I have no doubt whatsoever on that. But I also have no doubt whatsoever that teams love to feed reporters BS. This is also a brand new front office in Tennessee. So it's not like Davenport's worked with these guys on a regular basis and has that kind of relationship. Now, is there people in ownership and that stuff like that he might be talking to? Of course. I'm not going to buy a brand new front office, you know, necessarily being the ones that are going to give right information, because how many times we talk about it with Joe Shane when he first got here? He fed BS left and right. And we thought it was legit because we were so used to that between, you know, the last couple of GMs, you know, Gettleman told you just for the most part what it is. He may have tried to sneak it in and hide it the way he talked, but he pretty much told you what it was. Jerry Rice, everybody knew who Jerry Rice wanted to draft. There was no secret whatsoever. You might as well freaking put a billboard in Times Square. How many times did guys like Leonard Floyd get drafted ahead of us because people knew they were gonna? They knew it.
Yeah.
I just feel like we got to look at what's going on around the league, and we got to go. You know what? The value's not there sometimes, and you can't force a pick. As much as I have no problem reaching for a quarterback, because we need a quarterback. Let's be very frank. There's no in for buts. You can't. I did. You can't reach the point that you're that guy that just gave up a ton of stuff. Because if the one thing that we were told yesterday was it no, it wasn't Con. Who was it? I forget, we talked about it on Monday.
Connor Hughes.
No, Connor Hughes said that it was 2/3 he was here, and somebody else had said that it was going to be, like I said, a first this year, obviously, which is granted, it's always going to be to give up your first, but a second this year, a first next year, and a third next year. If you're doing something like that for a guy that other people aren't so sure about, you got to look at the mirror and see, what am I missing? Yep. Like, did someone not go to his birthday party? Is that what happened here? I'm gonna do my annual draft day thing, but it's like something's up. When nobody else wants this person like that, you gotta question that. And again, I have no problem taking Cam Ward at 3. Not a single issue whatsoever. I have no problem even taking him at 1 overall if you're that sure. It just scares me that other people don't seem to be very sure. Like, I've seen him being mocked to us at pick 3 even. So why are the Titans and Browns, 2 teams that clearly need a quarterback, potentially going to pass this guy?
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, it depends on the mock and who you're talking about. Like, because there's definitely plenty of mocks I've seen where Adul goes 1 overall.
Yeah, there is.
And it's just, and solely just because after watching the Super Bowl, people are like, everyone needs that guy to get after the quarterback.
Yep.
Which, you're not wrong, but you also need a quarterback to get rid of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a very important position as well. That's why it's very important to have someone to, knock the quarterback down.
Yeah, no, 100%. So
it's a vicious NFL yin.
Let's talk about the other quarterback that everyone is talking this draft, and that's Shedeur Sanders, because he is in the news lately, guys, and not for good reasons. Shedeur Sanders his stock is falling big time. Like, if it was any worse right now, we'd have bankers like falling from the top floor of buildings right now. That's how bad it's getting. This is like, it's just a bad situation here. Sporkita's Tony Pauline said, at the same time, teams are cooling on Shedeur Sanders for a number of reasons. The first being that Sanders showed little to no improvement in his game last season and made some poor choices. People are also a little turned off by his antics since January. The Colorado quarterback chose not to throw at the combine, which isn't unusual at all for a top-rated signal caller. Yet this comes off the Shrine Bowl, where Sanders was expected to at least participate in the individual passing drills, yet he showed up on the field for just the first day of practice, making a brief visit dressed in sweats. Then you have CBS's Jonathan Jones. They've been interviewing with teams. Cam Ward, I can say confidently from teams that I've spoken to, has been interviewing better than Shedeur Sanders. I talked with one team who agreed with that, but said, look, Shedeur is not really, it does not appear he's giving it his all with teams that he doesn't want to go to. And we know in the past, like, Deion Sanders has said at point blank that this will be an Eli situation. This will be an Elway situation. That they will tell teams point blank what teams they are willing or not willing to go to. And I think the NFL is a little upset about that as a whole.
I can see that.
NFL has this mentality of like, oh, we control the rules. We determine what goes on. And it's like they say, he who has the gold makes the rules. Well, in this case here, there's only 2 quarterbacks that are legit worth a first round pick. Again, we can argue over where in the first round they should go, but they're 2 first round quarterbacks. And you have a lot of teams that need a quarterback. So, yeah, he can be picky like that if he wants to determine that. And I can't blame them. I really can't. And I get why the draft happens. let's be honest here. Like, if it wasn't for the draft, it'd be like baseball, where there's not a lot of parity, and some teams have not a chance of hell of ever winning. Like, what guy was like, you know what I want to do? I want to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nobody. They go there because of money. They go there because they get drafted there. So if you're gonna have to go ahead and have a system like that. But I can't blame a player for wanting to try to help determine where he goes. I really can't. Like, imagine busting your hump your whole life. This is where these guys have been, like 22, 23 years old. They've basically been playing, football since they were like 7 years old. So 2/3 of their life, at least, they've been playing football. And imagine being told that you're busting your hump for 14 of the 21 year or 22, 23 years, whatever, on this earth. Enjoy Cleveland Browns. That's not, that's not good. That's like craving a burger forever and then, being dropped off at McDonald's when there's a Five Guys down the road.
Or just gonna that soy black bean burger.
Depends on where it's from. I mean,
Just saying, it's still not a burger. It's not a beef patty.
yeah. I'm just, like I said, that's just where I'm at. And, you got people, like I know Deb put in here too about Jackson Dart moving up. He has been moving up. I've also heard Quinn Ewers is moving up on boards. But there are some mock drafts that have come out the last day or two all of a sudden, and they have Shedeur Sanders not even in the first round. I think it's just insanity. Insanity. There's no way in hell he's making it past the top 10 picks. I'd be shocked if he makes it past the Raiders. It's such a Raider move, it's not even funny. But you can hate the antics all you want. I know a lot of people hated some of the stuff he said at the combine, even publicly, because he point blank was like, yeah, I've done it twice already. We're going to change culture wherever I go. I have no problem with confidence. Absolutely no problem with confidence. I want somebody to come in confident, because let's be very frank, any quarterback that comes to the Giants is going to be a big part of trying to change the culture. And we have to change the culture here. You can question a lot of things when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. You can question the arm strength. That's a potential issue. You can question the fact that he played in a horrible conference and basically faced nobody of any substance until the last game of the season where the team looked bad. You can question the fact that he played around probably the best receiver group in that conference, including having the Heisman Trophy winner as his top receiver. You can question things like that. Again, question. I'm not saying right, not saying wrong. Time will tell on a lot of this stuff. You can see both sides of the coin. We talk about this every draft. You have to question things. You have to look at things to determine which is the likely outcome there. That's what we all do when we look at drafting players. Whenever we do analysis on a player, that's all you're doing is guessing. You're making an educated guess. My educated guess tells me Shedeur Sanders is a legit NFL player. I don't know to what level. I'm not even going to try to front and say otherwise, guys. I do not know to what level. I'll say this. Either one of them is an upgrade over anybody we had last year. We had last year.
All of them put together, pretty much.
And when you have guys, again, I know we had a good rookie season, but when you have guys like Bo Nix going in the first round, in like the middle of the first round last year, I just don't understand why people would think this guy's not a first round talent. I don't know. Am I crazy, Rob?
Listen, we've talked about this a few times. We've been talking about Sanders for pretty much over a year at this point, because when we were doing last year's mock draft, Sanders was still like a top 10 quarterback, which in last year's draft, 100%, 100%, was a first round pick. The reason to wait to this year is to be an obvious first round pick. To be number one overall, we've said this before. Like I don't see it. I get it, but I don't see it. He should be like pick 11, but he's
That's
not.
what I'm saying. He's a mid-first round pick.
Yeah, but he's not going to make it past 6.
There's no way. Yeah, I don't think the Raiders let him go past at all. I think the Raiders would be very happy if he dropped to them. Very happy. Like I said, I don't know. I gotta wonder too, is part of this the hype of people that want him to drop? Like we talked about that, a couple of years ago with Kayvon Thibodeau. Like I think the Giants were hoping he'd drop and kind of manufactured some disdain for him to go ahead and help make him drop, which is sad. Like you're like, I hope you make less money. That's basically what you just did. But teams do this. They're selfish. They do what's best for them, same as anybody else individually does, and same as any business does as a whole. If you need a quarterback, and let's say you're the Raiders at 6, because we used them before, we use them again. Let's say the Raiders at 6 are like, okay, we might have to trade up to get him. But remember what we said before, if we wanted to trade up with the Titans, there's the rumor, if you want to go on the high end, it would take, along with our first or second this year, our first and third next year. Imagine what it would take from 6.
You're still on the farm.
You're giving up that. And you're giving up that third becomes the second, probably. You're probably still giving up a third on top of that. And you're probably might be giving up even something beyond that. Like it might be just 3 firsts.
I was about to say you might be giving up a lot in the next year as well.
So this happens every year, guys, where players just get looked at like they're not as good as people think. I wouldn't take them if I was them. And then you see the same person who said that taking them.
And then you're doing the best Dark Helmet impression. Fool you.
But I could also see teams that he didn't want to go to taking it personal that he just didn't seem interested in them.
Yeah, because listen, if I can have him, you can't have him either.
Well, it's also like, again, there's 32 teams. There's not a lot of guys out there, and anybody who looks at me, I hate to kind of use this analogy, but I'm going to use it because I understand the difference. But anybody who's ever had a job before where they were in management, there's 2 types of managers. There's the ones who think they know everything and they're hot shit, and there's the other ones who laugh at the people who think they know everything and are hot shit. And if you fall into that first category, you think people shouldn't disrespect you, and you feel like you're disrespected very easily. And that's what this is. That's what I really think this is. I think there's teams out there that he talked to because he felt obligated, but he didn't really want to talk to them. Again, don't forget, Deion Sanders, his father, turned down the Giants' option to talk to him at the combine, saying point blank, I won't be there when you pick. There's no point in talking unless you trade up. That's what he said to them. I feel like that's what happened. Is teams wanted to talk to him. He took it personal, basically, that they even wanted to talk to him, and they took it personal back that he didn't seem interested. I just feel like that's what it is. It's a little bit of butthurt there. Take some preparation, H and deal.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's pay the bills real quick. We got a couple more stuff to talk about here today.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. And, of course, you can always support the show. I'm doing a super chat on YouTube, doing stars on Facebook, or the freeway. Just go ahead and hit the like. Hit the subscribe. Hit the bell if you're on YouTube. Share it. Tell a friend about the show. Because point blank, we count on you all. You're like the guerrilla marketing team we have here, basically. Without y'all doing that, well, we don't get any traction whatsoever. So thank you very much in advance. And if you wanted the bare minimum, just hit a thumbs up if you're on YouTube. That really helps spread it out there to other people as well. So, all right, let's get into the rest of the news here. We got a couple more things to talk about there. So, Tyrone Tracy Jr. was on a podcast recently, not ours, because point blank, the players get told by the Giants not to go on, content creators with the Giants That's not even a lie. Is the scary part. Like I've been told that from multiple people.
Yeah.
They've been told I like to come on your show, but I can't come on because we were told not to do them. But Tyrone Tracy Jr. was on the Stop the Playbook, which is a Whistle Sports podcast, and they were reminiscing of his time in the draft process. And I love hearing those kind of stories because I love hearing like the behind the scenes stuff that as a fan we don't get to always see. I mean, some of the things in the combine and the interviews are just insane, point blank. I remember though, like I said a couple years ago, Des Bryant got asked if his mother was a hooker. Like some of the stuff behind the scenes, it's just crazy. But I like it at the same point because you get to kind of see the stuff you don't get to hear about very often. So he talked about actually the Jets. The Jets apparently spent a lot of time interviewing him, and he says the Jets try to play mind games with you. Saleh will tell you a play and how it's run, like say an outside zone play where we run to the right. He'll tell you exactly what it's called, your steps, and everything. But he's not going to have you write it down. He'll just tell you it and then talk about a whole bunch of other stuff like, how's your mom? How's your family? He'll tell the play so you remember it, but then start talking about something else. He'll go on a completely different path. And then after that, he'll come back and say, tell me that play again. Tell me exactly what you're supposed to do. Which was interesting because we saw that in Hard Knocks as well. Remember, that was a Jaden Daniels mistake at that point there. We were talking about, in that where Jaden Daniels, remember that first one at the combine when at the meetings, everybody's like, oh, maybe the Giants don't like Jaden Daniels. They didn't like Jaden Daniels as much as we thought they did because of how that went down. And we found out later on, no, Dable was like definitely wanted to go ahead and get Jaden Daniels. There's no way in hell to trade up for him with the Commanders and the second spot overall. But he did the same thing. And he actually said, Tracy, that he caught off guard and got it wrong. But he did say he learned from it. So that's good at that point there. But like I said, I like it when I hear the behind the scenes kind of stuff. It's kind of interesting too that the Jets seem to have been interested in him coming into this as well. We told the point blank he wasn't even on our radar coming up into the draft. We didn't think he was one of those guys that we would see until like the 6th or 7th round. He was actually drafted a little earlier than we expected, but very pleasant surprise. And I'm very curious, very interested to see what he's going to do in year 2.
100%.
Yeah. Sad for Saleh, though. Like, here's this story about this guy who's not even a coach anymore.
Yeah. Aaron got him fired. Now Aaron got himself fired.
Isn't he a defensive coordinator for somebody?
He did. He got picked up pretty fast. Picked him up.
I'm trying to remember where myself now. The Niners, right?
Green.
Yep, the Niners. He went back to the Niners. Or whatever's left of the Niners. We'll see what happens. I think they're one of those teams going to trade a decent amount of players this year. Lose some players. So I think their time is over, unfortunately, for them. But like I said, interesting story because we saw that on Hard Knocks with a different player. So we got a chance to see it again. It seems to be kind of the common practice. So the key is, guys, if you are going to the combine as a rookie or a potential rookie in the league, remember to write things down when they're not looking on your hand. Having a little pen. Just like, sorry. I have an itch. Sorry. Hold on.
Yeah, don't go out the night before. Take a little bit of the
ginkgo biloba.
Yeah, ginkgo biloba.
Ginkgo biloba. All right, guys. One more bit of news here for you guys because there's somebody who requested a trade today. And whenever that happens, we got to discuss, does it make sense for the Giants to trade for this player? That's DK Metcalf, who I did not see coming at all in that whole scenario. So,
he's fast.
We talked about it. We expected that they'd be making some moves here in Seattle. We expected Tyler Lockett to be gone, who, by the way, the Seahawks did release today. So they're kind of doing a change of the guard this offseason here. But Ian Rappaport on Twitter X, I don't always say it that way. How many years before I can stop saying it that way to say X?
Just say X.
I just feel it's weird because, again, you don't use X to tweet. Like, I need a new verb for that then. I need a new verb if we're doing that.
Accent. Well, it's funny. Actually, I met someone that works with someone
Oh,
that
please tell me
is
this is as good as the Otis Anderson story.
just as good. That they work for X in the marketing department. I told him that instead of being called tweets because it's stupid, because he got in trouble because they still say tweeting over there and Twitter instead of saying X. I said, go with X, go all in. But instead of tweeting, say X is going to give it to you. Anytime you're talking about tweeting, X is going to give it to you.
It's just like I said, they need to figure out a word for it because it just doesn't make any sense anymore. But anyway, Ian Rappaport on X said Seahawks star wide receiver DK Metcalf has requested a trade from Seattle, and the team has decided to explore it, per me and Tom Pelissero. Now, me is Ian Rappaport, not me, Drew. So there is more likely to be significant interest in the Seattle star, and both sides will dig into it. A big-time wide receiver who may be on the move. And big time is interesting word to use for DK Metcalf, by the way. If anybody's ever got the chance to see him, not just on TV, but live in person, for a receiver, he is a big guy. Like, you don't at least you go,
massive.
That's a receiver. Look at him. He's big. Like, he's practically tight end size when you see him in person. He's a tall guy. I'm not gonna say he's hefty, like Jay would say, I'm sure, because he likes to be mean about people's weight today. 6'4".
Sorry, just ate Chinese food before coming on. I'm bloated.
6'4", 235 pounds, guys. That's pretty big. That's like, again, that's almost tight end size at that point there. So, like, let me look at Theo Johnson, for example.
Let's say, is he bigger
6'6", 265. So he's got, about another 30 pounds he'd be there. But most receivers are usually like 210, 200, 215. Like, he's got a decent amount of weight added on him. And yeah, 200 is not great. Look at Tank Dell's 160 pounds. He's the smallest, but I'm just saying, like, he got 75 pounds on him. I mean, that's a big freaking difference.
The last couple of years through the draft class of receivers coming out, a lot of them have been under 200 pounds.
Yeah.
This year seems like they're back to eating their beefcakes.
And DK Metcalf is actually a lot younger than you might think as well, guys. He's 27 years old. I feel like he's been in the league forever. I really do. But
that's because when he came up, and he still played with Lockett right away.
Yep.
And he came up with the Seahawks, and he was just good his first year.
Yeah.
Like, he was solid, and he just hasn't looked back.
Yeah, and last year, guys, he got hurt for a little while, but he still had a damn good season. 12 games. Again, 12 games. You got to keep that for part of this at that point, because that means he missed 5, games. 66 receptions. 992 yards and 5 touchdowns. Again, that's 2/3 of the season. If he had been healthy, he would have had his best season by far, probably. 2020 at 1,300 yards and 83 catches. He had 1,100 yards in 23. He's not the guy that puts up 1,600 yards. Let's be clear on that. He's the guy who puts up right around 1,000 to 1,100 usually. Like, he's that guy.
He's also never been like the sole dude on a team. Like, he took over Lockett's number 1 spot. He's also what's his face that just came out of the draft 2 years ago.
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah,
who just came on big time this year.
They picked up Noah Fant.
Also had Geno Smith, so. And an older version of Russell Wilson. So you can also make that claim. He's never worked with a dynamic quarterback. No offense to those two, but they're not exactly.
Yeah, but they still.
Geno Smith, you must have gotten 1,700 yards this season.
I hear you, but they've been a top 10 passing team. Yeah,
they have. Yeah.
So you can't say like they have not been in a dynamic offense.
I get it. I just have trouble with Geno Smith still. No matter how many years he's been an okay starter.
I hear you.
I hear you. Still have trouble. It's Geno Smith.
And you have to wonder too. Like, I mean, does that spell Geno Smith coming over to the Giants as well? But
no.
That's besides the point. But I'm just saying is, you talk about he's never going to be your 1,500-yard guy, but he's also when every time that Metcalf has put over 1,000 yards on the table, for the season, same with Lockett.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also have Noah Fant, and you have other receivers on a team that's consistently put up 700 yards.
Yeah,
So it's like they spread the ball around. That's what I was getting at. So like you put them in a situation where it's a team that doesn't have as good as receiving core. Can he get to 1,500 yards? It's possible.
Yeah. And did they already cut him too? No offense. I feel like he got cut, or they're talking about cutting him as well. I'd have to look it up here. Let's see here.
We're just having a flash sale.
I thought I heard that. No, he's still on there. It looks like, but I mean, that's a guy who does 500-600 yards from the tight end position. So I mean, oh, here it is. Yeah, 1 day ago, Seahawks cut Noah Fant. So the Seahawks cut Noah Fant, Tyler Lockett, and they're willing to trade DK Metcalf. It's gonna be a totally different offense, guys. But the big topic here, as we're getting, let's pop real in real quick. Is the big thing is, should the Giants look at DK Metcalf? That's the big topic here. And I gotta say, I can't tell you guys quick enough no on that. Like, we already have a top receiver, and we can't be paying a guy a ton of money to be number 2 receiver. Like, that's what he would be. Let's be honest. DK Metcalf, great player, top 15, top 20 receiver in the league. I don't know where you want to put him exactly, but probably in that kind of ballpark. But Niebers is a better receiver right now. Yeah. So you're going to put him as a number 2. Now, he's got a $31.87 million cap hit for the Seahawks right now in 2025, as it stands. He's got 1 year remaining on a 3-year, $72 million contract. So I'm going to tell you right now, guys, behind the scenes what's going on. I don't need a crystal ball. I don't need an inside source. They're not going to pay him a $31.87 million cap hit. And I'm not saying pay him like they're going to hand through $1 million. Obviously, his salary is different this year, but that's going to be the cap hit. They're not going to pay him that, point blank. And what they're going to do is they're going to try to rework a new deal. And that's probably what they've been doing behind the scenes. And they probably can't come up with anything that both sides agree to. And that's what's killing it.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. Before we even think about listen, because what I like DK Metcalf on the Giants, hell yeah. You have 2 dynamic receivers. You're going to pay this guy a lot of money. But what for? When we're probably we're sitting at last place in a division, maybe being at the Cowboys. Maybe they're finally terrible this year.
They're terrible every year, but it's a whole separate issue.
Yeah,
it's the general statement, not even the record thing.
Pretty much. But are we Super Bowl contenders? Were we planning on the playoffs?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to pay this guy when we have a bigger hole to fill in the quarterback position.
But it's also if he's getting paid right now, and we can do the math real quick, it's not that difficult. He's making $24 million a year. 3 years, $72 million. And he got that 2 years ago. I mean, somebody's going to think he's probably worth $30 million. I am not paying $30 million a year to a number 2.
Yeah.
Now, here's the interesting thing, and it wasn't the topic we're going to have here, but we'll dive into a little bit here. Tyler Lockett. If we lose out on Darius Slayton, I would take Tyler Lockett in a heartbeat. I think he is a professional in the positive way. He is a pros pro kind of receiver. He's a guy he's going to be 33 in the season, so you're going to get him for a couple of years, and that's it. Let's be honest, he's going to be in the downswing here. And I know some people will say he's in the downswing already when he had 600 yards receiving. But he only had 600 yards receiving because of the fact that he was basically option number 3, because he had DK Metcalf, we talked about there, basically 1,000 yards in 12 games. But then you also had Jackson Smith-Njigba, who came on this year and went ahead and basically just proved people like us right when we said he was going to be a freaking beast, and he had 1,100 yards. There's only 70 yards to go around.
Yeah.
And we could look up and compare as far as, hey, this is what he did this game and that game, to see as far as what happened with the games that, DK Metcalf missed. But if you're telling me as a number 3, you got 600 yards still, it's not a bad season. There's still something left in the tank. And if you can get a guy like that for, let's say, 2 years, $20 million, or 2 years, $24 million, I don't think that that's a bad idea.
No, and then what you do is you also take a veteran receiver who's had a pretty good career on a team that's won way more than they lost to bring in as a mentor to some younger guys that we have.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. Like, I feel like this team, and I'll address this, Jake, as you put it in there. Why don't we ever go for the top guys you desire the scrap heaps locket? Here's the thing. We don't have leaders in the locker room right now. We flat out don't. We have gotten rid of so many of them, it's not even funny. We got rid of the guys who were the vocal leaders in that locker room, except for Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns. Darius Slayton is another one that we may lose.
I was going to say.
So I would go ahead and take a guy who can be a guy to try to, we talked about before with the quarterback situation, somebody who can help try to change the culture. And not everybody has to be the 25-year-old shiny new toy. Sometimes you get a guy, the savvy veteran, to come in for a couple of years, almost be like an assistant coach and somebody to help change this culture. It happens on every single roster. You bring in guys who are used to winning. And say what you want about the Seahawks. I'm not saying they're perennial Super Bowl contenders. But that is a team that consistently outperforms the Giants.
Yeah, I mean,
like it is.
They've been borderline playoff team for a long time, even without Sneaky Pete. I mean, Sneaky Pete, love the guy, but one of the best coaches in modern era.
He says it's like buying a sports car with 100,000 miles on it. You know what, though? If it's a quality sports car, it might go 150, 200.
Yeah.
Not every purchase has to be a long-term purchase.
You're just taking it out for one last ride. You're not looking to get this guy. Listen, you buy a brand new Ferrari, you spend $250,000. You buy one with 100,000 miles, you get it for a lot cheaper.
He says you can say that about everybody, but here's the difference. You're not necessarily seeing a downswing on him yet. Again, 600 yards last year, doesn't even look at that, but again, he was a third option. And that's why I'm looking at it as not on the downside. 900 yards the year before, 1,000 the year before that, 11,000, 1,000, 900. He's been consistent in the role he has since 2018. So, like I said, this is a guy that I feel like you bring him in for a couple of years. He's a good mentor for neighbors. Maybe he even teaches Hyatt how to be a wide receiver. Who knows?
Yeah. And Wandell.
I mean, and you need a vet. You can't just keep getting young guy after young guy after young guy. That's what we keep doing.
Yeah.
But you also can't sit there and go ahead and build up a roster with a bunch of 35-year-olds either. I'm not trying to go that route. But you got to sprinkle in some bets. Jihad Ward is a classic example. Like I feel like you had a situation where he came in and he became a vocal leader right off the bat. Jihad Ward is an older guy. He was like 29, 30 when we got him. Wasn't even a starter. You need some savvy veterans. You need some guys who can change that culture. The Giants need a culture change at not just the front office. They need it in the locker room.
Listen, we got rid of Shep, who was our savvy vet, right?
Yep.
Right now, Slane's our savvy vet, and he has not seen, a winning season in how long?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you take a guy like Lockett who's had a winning season most of his career, if not all, with good leadership. You bring him in, helps these guys out.
Yeah. Like I said, I just feel like do it. Change the culture. Get the young guys in there. Get the guys that teach them. So, all righty, guys. Well, that's going to call it a night for us here tonight. We'll be back again for you guys tomorrow. So, listen, you won't miss us for long. We'll be right back again before you know it. As always, we are live, guys, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter X, whatever the hell you want to call it. We're still having that conversation. Twitch, and of course, Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn profile. And of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms. That is Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there, guys. So if you haven't already, again, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button. Tell a friend about the show there. If you're on the audio version, especially on YouTube, especially on Apple, go ahead and not just hit the like and subscribe button, but leave us a positive review as well. If you're going to leave a negative review, just go to an Eagles page or a Commanders or Cowboys page. Do that there, but they do help a long way as well there. So appreciate you guys again for watching. As always, we'll see you guys again tomorrow night there. And of course, as always, Giants fans, go Giants! Go Giants!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.